So Eddie Jackson, thanks a million for coming into the Actors Room.
Thank you for asking me.
No worries at all. Delighted to have you here. So I suppose everybody kind of wants to know a little bit about your background. So how did you start acting?
Actually, the first short film that I done was in my school in James Street with my art teacher. He put together a short film, and I'd never really I'd done like a few plays back in the day, like when I was really young, but I never really thought about it. Like I applied in my CAO for pharmaceutical science, and I didn't even know what it was. So to be honest, when I was leaving school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And after I'd done the short film, I'd done kind of well at a few festivals and stuff. He suggested that I could go and do acting in college. And I knew.
Who's he? Sorry,
it's my teacher. His name was Sean Maloney. He was an art teacher in James Street.
Right.
And he suggested, so I had to go find 2 monologues. Which I didn't even know what a monologue was at the time.
Yeah.
And I got handed a Shakespeare one. I was studying Macbeth at the time. And,
knock on wood.
And I studied Macbeth at the time, so I took one from that. And then my English teacher gave me Philadelphia, Here I Come. And just to show the lack of anything I knew about theatre, I was reading through it wondering when he got AIDS.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought it was Philadelphia, the film play version of it.
Oh no!
So I just applied to a few colleges, and I applied to colleges as acting rather than independent acting courses because I didn't know they existed.
Okay.
I applied to Trinity and I didn't get in, and I just applied to the one down the road to me, which was Inchicore College, and I done my audition, and on my 5-minute walk home, I got a call from them asking, do I want to do the course? So that's kind of how I start wanting to be an actor.
Okay,
it
so somebody saw something in you and was like,
I suppose it gave confidence in me that someone seen something in me to do something, and I said, all right, if someone sees it in me, because maybe you don't always see it in yourself, so
no.
That's how I start doing it. So the love came really after I started doing it rather than before. As you start to learn more and more about it, and start to learn more about the technique, and you start to grow respect for other actors and what they do.
And how much work is involved
in everything.
You would think, anybody that's not in the industry might just think it's just reading text, and there's a lot more.
Oh
to
yeah,
it,
you don't even think about it. You just think they play characters, and that's a lovely job to do. But you don't realize how much, even your life, your friends who aren't involved, having to cancel on them all the time, and and this stuff comes up, and so I don't regret not going to college and not doing so. I'm really happy that my art teacher kind of put me forward for it and told me to do it, and I'll always remember him for that, so it's nice.
Yeah, that is really nice. And what about family though? How were they when you kind of turned around and said, I'd like to try acting? I
grew up only with my mother, and she's always been she's always been a person who lets you make your mistakes first and let you learn from them rather than give out to you before them. So she's always been the most supportive person to me, and she's for the last 8 years, even when I wasn't getting paid jobs, she's always been telling me to go do it. Even moments where I had doubts, she would be telling me to go do it. And there was even a grant to go to, when I was leaving school, there was a grant that got passed down to a few people to go do law in Griffith College, and it eventually got to me because so many people turned it down. And my ma works for a barrister, and she said, well, go be an actor or a barrister, it's the same thing, they all lie anyway, so.
Okay, that was very positive.
So she's always been very, very supportive of me. So
you need that, I think. Specifically, I think when you're in a creative industry, because you're getting so many knocks all the time. I suppose, what was your first big break, do you think?
Well, for me, for the jobs that I want to do as an actor, my big break came last year when I got cast in Game of Thrones. But I done a film a few years ago called Promised Land, and that kind of made me feel like an actor eventually. Do you know? And I don't mean that. You can post stuff on Facebook as much as you want about where you're going and what you're doing and thing. But at the end of the day, when you're on with yourself, you question: Am I doing what I want to do? Am I an actor? And I done a short film a few years ago called Promised Land, which done well, and I got to go to a few things as an actor, as part of something. And that was the moment where I kind of felt like I was an actor eventually. I could call myself an actor. Before that, I was doing little bits and pieces, and when you're working more hours in another job than you are as an actor, I don't think you can. You don't feel like yeah.
So what was that then exactly? It was just like going to premieres, or was that like the feeling on set that made you feel that way?
Just, yeah, no, the feel on set, I'm working with people, because anything I'd done before was like, come on here and do a day, like a college production, come on here and do a day, and it's not going to festivals after, it's just, you see it and then you get to watch it, you know, and that's really all that happens. But when I done that, like it went on to festivals and it done well, and you got to meet up with the cast again, and you finally start to see, all right, I can make acquaintances through this, and you end up getting work off the next person, and like, as my friend Mark always says, work breeds work, so
it does, yeah.
the more you do, the more people you meet. So that's kind of the first time I felt brought into the industry, say, and known by other actors and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, and prior to that, you were writing stuff as well, were you? You were doing your own work, or?
Yeah, I was writing stuff. I wrote 2 short films with an actor, Mark McCabe. He's in London now. Me and him wrote 2 short films. It was originally, I went to a class with Maureen Hughes, and she said, if you're not getting seen for stuff, get out and write your own stuff.
Yeah.
Make your own. And it's great the way we have it now, that you can do your own self-tapes and you can put stuff off online. I mean, some people probably do it a little too much. Like, we don't need to see your audition piece online, guys. You're grand. But it's it's great, and as we were saying upstairs, like, it's great because it's you don't need permission to go do this stuff anymore. Yeah. Like, you know, and I remember when I left college, you still had to print out your headshot to go to an audition with. You know, and now it's all done through email, it's all done through this, and you can send on a self-tape to someone, even if they're not seeing you for the part, and that can change their mind if they're open to looking at stuff. So after I'd done the class, literally the next week, I met Mark, and he asked me would I be interested in writing a short film. So we did, and it was called House of Cards before the TV show came out.
Of course.
Literally a year before. And we wrote that, and we got a good cast in, and we worked with a really nice crew, a lot of crew that we met, and that was another part that kind of was a big turning point for me, because we got to audition people for things, and you're constantly getting told at classes for auditions that they want you for the part, you just need to show them what they want, and you're sitting there as an actor who hasn't got a part, and you're going, they don't want me.
Yeah. I
have to really prove myself to these people, and blah blah blah. But when you're auditioning people, you do realise they do want the next person to come in and show you, I want this part, you know. So that made me relax a little bit when I went to auditions then.
Okay,
do you know what I mean? When you're on the other side,
because
you understand what you need to give the person, you know. And
that's interesting, actually, isn't it?
If I was, I'd advise any actor to go out, and even if it's just for a scene,
yeah,
you're looking to do with another person, is hold a few auditions and just see that you are looking for someone to come in and show you something different, like, you know.
Yeah. And you're hoping for them to do well. Like, ultimately, you just
you're hoping that the next, you're calling them in for a reason. You like something about them, you know, and you're not. There shouldn't be such a negativity from actors walking into a audition process straight away that, like, I'm just in here because you know, someone else is going to get the part, they need to fill quotas or something, you know. And I mean, I've been on the other side of that as well, you know. It does happen, but unfortunately,
it just depends, really.
I think it's important to lock down that, and if you do an audition yourself, if you audition people, it really helps. Like,
so it'd be writing and auditioning and try different areas.
Get involved,
absolutely, 100%. And there was something else I wanted to ask you in regards to that, like, when you're talking about auditions, how do you prepare for an audition, and, like, do you still get nervous?
It really depends. Like, I suppose I don't get really nervous now before an audition. I used to get really nervous, and then I think I had one audition where I was holding a script, and I wasn't off book, which is the first tip. Just get off book. Yeah. Like that, if you can say it to anyone, like, just get off book. You're not. They can't change it and mold you into what they want if you're still holding a script. So that'd be me first advice going into a thing. And you're standing there and you're a little bit nervous, and the thing's shaking because you're holding a script.
I know.
You know, and that made me go, like, right, there's no reason to be nervous doing this, you know. And then once again, doing the auditions myself helped that. Like, there's no reason to be nervous. You're going in there to try to create something with someone, and you shouldn't be too nervous about it, you know. So that's
number one. And then what about, like, prepping for, say, for instance, you get sides, you know, the night before or something, and you're like, damn it, I have no time to learn. So you're learning them. You probably spend most of the time learning, right? Yeah. And then, you know, how do you attack the character then? Like, what are the questions that you ask yourself? Or
well, I done a class last year with Terry McMahon, and he gave me a lot of good.
I did that class too.
Yeah, a lot of good
things. He is so good, isn't he?
No, he's brilliant. Like,
he's so good.
I don't need to jinx myself, but I've nailed most of the auditions I've done since that class. Like,
for him, I would say he's brilliant. Yeah,
I done it a few years ago, and then I stopped, and I don't know why I stopped until he said it. But he said, walk around with if you have a day to learn it, and you get it that morning and you have to go out because unfortunately you're a
working.
person with a life and you have to go do something the day before an audition really quick. Put it down on tape and listen to it in your ears. And don't worry about walking around with a thing in your ear repeating lines back, because half the city are walking around talking into a phone.
Yeah.
Do you know? So you don't look weird, you know the thing.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel less weird the next day when you walk into that audition and you know your lines, and you don't need to sit there worrying about your lines and you're going, oh, do I remember those lines? And the director is trying to give you a note or something, and you're sitting there thinking like, oh, I won't remember this line. So I'd say I try to go into auditions as open as possible without saying like I want the character to be this, because they obviously when you're being taught in acting class, they're like, make sure you read the whole script and make sure you know the whole story arc, and it's nearly impossible sometimes with TV shows or something like an example with Game of Thrones. There's no way I'm going to get the whole episode of that. Even when you've done the show, you're not getting the whole episode, so you're not going to know the whole story of what's going on. You have to go in and just try to contribute to what they're trying to make, like, you know. And the way they see that is if you're able to go in as a blank slate and they're able to mould you in the audition room very quickly, like, and if they can do that, then they won't have time on the set to do it if you're only doing 2 or 3 lines on something as big as that. So they want to know that it's someone they can trust, that they can just turn around to and go, right. Whereas if you've overlearned it the night before and you're stuck in one rigid thing, I think they can see that, and I think that sometimes can lose actors' parts, even if that audition's brilliant and what their idea was is brilliant.
Yeah, but they're not taking direction.
But they're not taking direction, and a director, unless they're dealing with the main star of it, might not have time for you, and that's understandable when you see what they have to do on set. You know, they might just want to say one word to you and let you go off and do. You know, it's
your thing. Yeah. So. Yeah, so it's interesting. So, like, obviously, lines are really important, and then you don't always get, like, as you say, the script or the side, everything. So, like, are you asking yourself stuff before you go in? What are, like, or nothing? You're just completely blank going in, are you?
Yeah. Well, no, as you know, if you've done the class as well, I set from the information that all you can do is use the information that they give you, and they know that they've only given you so much information. They're not going to give out to you for not knowing that your character goes on to save the world or something. You know, it's not. They're not going to be like that. So take the information that they have and give your character an objective. Whether it's to the other person, and you might not have a clue what the other person's character is either, you know, and you just have to go in and the show, be the 10th person out of 10 that does something different and try something new with it, you know, and that's what I would say is the best way.
Yeah. Try stand out in some way.
It's hard, you know. It's well, you can talk around it in circles, but you never know what the people are thinking either. You know, you can just go in and you can't get too downhearted about it after. You know, you move on. And
ultimately, you can only do that character, like, your way. Nobody else can do it your way. So, you know, there should be enough relaxation knowing that.
Yeah. There's also the downhearted. You don't want people, like, a lot of actors, I think, can lose an audition and they have to go home and question, am I doing the right thing? It's not about that. It's not that you're bad. You're in the room because you're good. You just don't suit it exactly. That's most of the time. I think any casting director would tell you that it's something. It's because your eyes are blue.
Yeah.
Do you know, they're too blue. Sorry. Do you know, like, and it's something as small as that. Like, you know, it happens to people, unfortunately.
It's hard, isn't it? It's really hard. It's like a lot of rejection, but perseverance. And I suppose it goes back to you talking about writing parts for yourself then, so that you're kind of empowering yourself, and you have done that. So that's what stands out. You went on, you did Vikings. What was that like? That
was my first kind of big film.
Yeah.
And I won't lie, because I've met a lot of the crew and cast and everything of Vikings, and they're all lovely, but I didn't have a great day because I had to be head shaved in the monk thing, and I was down the beach and it was really sunny, and we filmed the first part of the scene, and then the director said, oh, we'll kill him later, so I had to go back and wait in my trailer smelling like fish.
Oh God.
And I couldn't leave because it was so sunny, I'd get my head burnt. But it was good. For any job after that, I'm always happy that I got that small part on Vikings, because it kept, and next time I walked onto a big set, it wasn't overwhelming, and I had lines on the next big set, and I had to do more on the next big set, so I wasn't, you know, like, worrying about, oh, this and that and this kind of stuff. You kind of had an idea of what happens. You get up early, you go in, you have your breakfast, and then someone pulls you out of your trailer, and, you know, and that kind of, so you know this stuff is going to happen. So you're more prepared for the second time when you think, and that's why I think they say get a bit of extra work under your belt once. Get onto a big set, try it, just see how things flow. You know, I done it on tutors for a day.
And how was that? What did you think the experience of that was like?
Of doing extras?
Yeah.
it's hard, you know, like it is hard. And like one of my housemates was doing it on a film recently, and he thought it was excellent. He said, I'm doing really good stuff, and it's great. Like you get to sit around all day, and you get paid 80 quid for it or whatever. And I was like, yeah, how long have you been there for, man? And he's like, 12 hours. And I was like, well, that's less than minimum wage.
Yeah.
Do you know? So for some of them, like some of them love doing it. And I've been on a few things. I've done a thing called Riegn there earlier on in the year.
Yeah, I love that.
And there's some people there that some people just love it. But then there's some extras who want to be actors, and my only advice would be don't do it too much.
Yes, because you get seen.
Because you get seen as it, you know, and it's unfortunately, like I don't think that way, but unfortunately people do think that way.
Yeah, well, you get typecast.
Yeah.
It's like everything. You do the same type of role over and over again. People get used to seeing you in that role, and it's difficult for them to then take you out of that and put you somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely.
So, well, the audition process, I suppose, like for like Riegn, what was that like?
It's kind of weird.
Because I really like that. I watched that on Netflix. I really enjoy that. It's guilty pleasure.
I watched bits of it. A lot of people have said that to me. It was honest, their guilty pleasure. I auditioned for that. I was wondering. I got the script the day before, as you do, and it was only two or three lines, I think. But which is even harder because they're in different scenes and all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of hard to audition with it. Yeah. And I got it the night before, and it said Scottish Pillinger or whatever, and I'm like, oh great, I have to put on a Scottish accent overnight. Great. So I rang my agent and I said, I don't know if I can do a Scottish accent a day. It's definitely one of my weak ones. I need to thing. And she said, don't worry about it. So it was quite a relaxed audition, to be honest. It was a nice audition. It was just say the two lines in a certain type of accent, and they just got to say a few different ways, and then obviously you wanted to set and they wanted it a completely different way. Always.
Who's the casting director on that?
The casting director was Ali Coffey.
Yeah, she's really lovely.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, no, Ali's lovely. Yeah, she cast that, which is great to see that there's other things, because I didn't even know about the show, to be honest, before I'd done it. Okay. And hearing that little things like that are being filmed in Ireland 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there is optimistic for any actors as well. Yeah. Like, you know, and I've been lucky that over the last year or so that I've got to see how much stuff actually is coming in, be filmed here, and then they leave really quick. Mm-hmm. But it's an opportunity for an actor to go and get a good credit, or go and get something that'll put their name out there a bit, you know. Absolutely. Which is a good, it can only be a good thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And then you got called for Game of Thrones. So obviously you were doing a few bits in between, but Game of Thrones. How did that audition come about? Firstly.
I auditioned Carla Strong, who works for Nina Gold. She auditioned me a few times. I auditioned for the fourth season of Game of Thrones, and I had no idea what I was about to audition for. Before Game, before we know Game of Thrones exists. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking it's kind of like the Games Workshop kind of thing. Like it's going to be an overly fantasy kind of thing. Yeah. So I auditioned a few times for her. I even went up to Belfast one time to audition for her. And she always, any audition I done, she always liked me. And I always got feedback of the idea of like they just went with someone else, or they wanted to change the look of the character or anything like that. Great. And then I got called in last year for the part of Bellicio, and they just done one audition, and I got done the audition on Thursday, and then I got called on Monday to go in for Tuesday to Belfast. So it happened very quickly, you know. Yeah. And then I had the second week in Almeria a month later, which was nice then, because I'd already done the first week really quick. I'd have to wait around worrying about it and everything. And the scene that I auditioned, we done straight away on the Wednesday. So I went from auditioning I'd done the audition in Bow Street the week before to the week after, sitting on the set with Peter Dinklage and all that, and that was great, like, you know. So
it's got to be so surreal.
Yeah, no, that was, and it was surreal, like, yeah, because I was a big fan of it, watching it, you know what I mean. So sitting there with them all was a bit weird, like, and it was the first time I seen where an actor like Peter obviously has because of the character that he's built on the show can have a say in how the scene is portrayed, and he's very generous. I've seen him give away lines to people on the set, like, you know, he gave a line to someone else, you know. And they have this great knack of just he made you feel very comfortable straight away. He came straight over and introduced himself because he hadn't met me before. The other two lads had been on the set before, and he's a very shy person actually, but he came over and introduced himself, and straight away everyone just made you feel very comfortable. You didn't feel like you'd walked into this and you didn't belong there and everything. They were all so nice, and straight away you just felt really, really like Jacob. You had who plays Grey Worm. So he has another name, right? Richie Jacob. Because he has another name on his music thing, so I always get it mixed up then. He's like, you see him play Grey Worm and you think like, Jesus, he's a really serious bloke, like, but he's the furthest thing from it. He's such a messer, like, so
I love that.
So like you meet these people and you realise, oh, hold on a second, these are all just, they're all just the same, the same insecurity, same everything as everyone else, like, so it took about 10 minutes before I was relaxed and not overwhelmed, but overwhelmed for about 10 minutes and then straight away making jokes about the same things you make jokes about with your mates at home, and that you're fine again with them, like, Yeah,
that's amazing. Would you have any like tips for people, I suppose, like starting off, like we always kind of finalise with this, like, so what would your tips be for actors starting out, and also actors who I suppose are getting like a lot of no's, so...
Well, starting out, like if you're just starting, and I've had a few people come up and say they're thinking about getting into acting, and a lot of people have over the last few years because of the recession, and they realise that the job that they wanted to do is, or they thought they wanted to do, but they actually have this underlying passion to go do acting. A few people have come up to me in the last year or so and said, look, I'm thinking about getting in, what should I do?
Yeah.
And it's okay, it's as simple as, look, get yourself on tape. Get yourself on tape with a duologue.
Right.
Because you can do a monologue to the end of the world, and you can watch it and it's great, but what they really want to see is they want to see you listening, they want to see you acting, reacting, everything back. So duologue, don't sit in your room just doing monologues and send them off to people, because like I don't even know how many actors are in Ireland, so someone like Louise Kiley or let's say Maureen Houston, like they can't sit there every night a week watching 10 monologues. They have to have a life after they leave their 9 to 5, so they might be able to watch 1 or 2 a night with their own thing, but they're not going to sit there and watch everyone's, and I wouldn't be able to do it, so I wouldn't expect anyone else to do it. Do you know? So I'd say get yourself down with a duologue and put it up, and get, like, the internet's there now, and I think, as we said, like, it's I left when it wasn't social media wasn't a big thing. I left college and I was, as I said, printing out my CVs, and you were bringing it in, and that was the way you posted your headshot and CV off to someone, and you might not hear anything. But now you have like internet, like this, the Web Fest next week, even, like, you can put stuff up. If you have a good idea, 3 episodes, you can go up and put it on YouTube. And you've done it, and you've built a little bit of experience. Even working, because as we were doing the films, obviously we had no budget, or short films, so we had to do crew stuff and we had to do production stuff and we had to help, and that's another appreciation of the overall picture of how a film works, like, when you're not sitting there talking to the second AD on set when they're trying to, because they're going to have to be nice enough to tell you to talk to you, because they're not going to be rude, but you're distracting them from your job, and you've made, so it's loads of different etiquettes. But I'd say, get yourself down on tape, get a CV in, and just do short films where you think, be selfish in a way, and do short films, even if it's just a college film because you have no other experience. If you see a scene in that college scene that you can go, that's a showreel scene for me. Because at the moment you're only trying to build a name for yourself. You're not an actor. You're starting to be an actor. You can't just turn around and go, I'm an actor, and that's it. You have to make progress to doing it. So I'd say get your stuff down and then get it out to people and let people see it, because that's the only way you're going to get your name out there.
I know. I think it's really difficult for Irish people though, because like promoting yourself, like we have this thing where it's kind of, you feel like it's bragging. So you have to get over that. And the interesting thing that you've actually hit on there, Eddie, is I heard we had a scheme that started for actors and directors, and Lisa Mulcahy was in, and she said the same thing about listening. Listening is the most important thing, and sure, yourself with Terry's class, he's always talking about that too.
Well, my college teacher and I still use it to this day, and he said he's very old school, which I really liked. He's really into his theatre, and I still carry a lot of those things with me, like, that's why I have the beard, the long hair, is because you want to be a thing. Like, if someone, this isn't a fashion thing, it's just if you need to cut it off, it's there and you can be moulded, and that's the way I was taught to do that, and he said, this is the only line that you'll ever need to use as an actor. He said, you can go to all the classes and all the training, and all that other stuff is going to tweak and make you perfect, because if you stick to this one line, you'll be grand. And it's listen. If you listen, you'll react. If you react, you're acting. And that's as simple as that.
That's the best advice
and it's
ever.
Just just keep that in your mind. You're listening, and that's all. It's a hard thing to do. Like some people say, like, it's a hard thing to pretend that this is the first time you've heard this piece of information. You've heard it 10 times in rehearsals, and you've heard it 20 times through takes, and you're close up, they're close up back. But it's about keeping that momentum, and it's something simple as well. What I say to people is keep active outside of acting. Because if you're not, if you're not making a living off this yet, which some people are lucky to and some people aren't. People that aren't doesn't necessarily make them bad had the other people that have had a bit of luck. Yeah. Let's be fair about it. It's a bit lucky to get in and you get to do stuff. If you're not doing it, get out and jog, keep stuff, because it's long days eventually. If you're not doing it for a year and you eventually get called up and you have to do a month of shooting and you're wrecked by the third day and you've been doing 12 hours days and you're not able to do what you wanted to show them because you're too tired, it would be my other piece of advice. If you're not acting, keep active. Like, honestly, keep, because you're obviously with the amount of depression going around and everything, people who aren't working, it's the same for any actor who's not working.
It gets you down.
It can get you down, and you need to keep active as well. Like, that's what I tried to do while I was doing, even if it's I do a part-time job or a hobby, something like that, like just to keep your brain going. There's no point locking you're an actor, you're supposed to be analysing things and observing things, and if you're locking yourself away all the time,
you're observing nothing.
You're not observing anything.
Absolutely, 100%. And also it makes it interesting when you go into an audition room and someone's like, "Oh, how are you?" and they're talking to you and you've nothing to offer because you haven't been doing anything.
Yeah, they don't necessarily want to hear every other acting job that you've had. When someone says, "What are you up to?" in an audition room, they're not necessarily saying how many acting jobs you get. Because if you're not getting any acting jobs, you're not getting this part. Yeah, they're just talking to you. To probably to relax you sometimes.
100% to relax you. Yeah. And I normally ask people what's the best piece of advice that they ever received, but I think that might be it for you. That would be. Yeah. I've been very lucky. I've met some really, really good people like through the last 9 years since I left college, and even in college. And I met them at a good time when they were able to offer me advice that gave me confidence. Terry being one of them, Derek Chapman from my college being one of them. Like when I went into Terry's class last year, I was a bit on the what am I doing? Blah blah blah. I'll try this course, and it completely rejuvenated me into putting my foot down and going, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be an actor. There's no doubt about it. Because you have to look around and you eventually go, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? What and. You like any actor who hasn't questioned themselves has been very, very lucky. I'll tell you that. Like, they've come straight out of college and got into something and they've never had to question themselves. But unfortunately, the other side of this story is all the actors that aren't out there doing work, and that's the people that I suppose this podcast is for, and are the people that are still looking for work. And it's just keep trying, and keep putting your foot in the door. And if you're lying on your deathbed and you wanted to be an actor and you never had it, you never said, you never really gave it a go, you never stuck your foot in a door, and it's not about networking. I'm not a networker. I hate that word. No, I'm not a networker at all. I'm not a networker. I'm not going to go up to someone and start talking to them if I don't have some sort of inkling to them. I've never been introduced to them, anything weird like that. I find it quite weird. So a lot of people base most of their career on trying to do that. I see people doing that, and you're saying you're a good actor. You don't need to do that. Get out and do some short films, and show them, and just let it shine. Yeah. And really, ultimately, networking is just, I suppose, about being friendly. Yeah. But it's difficult.
But if you're on a night out, if I was on a night out and 20 people were coming up trying to chat to me that I didn't know, and I'm trying to sit here chat to one of my mates who I hadn't seen in a month.
Yeah. It's weird.
I'm not gonna be like, get that person in for an audition.
Yeah, I know.
That person's brilliant.
That person is irritating me. I'm never speaking to them ever again.
I think it's a careful balance between networking and annoying people. And you have to tread the line carefully.
Point taken. Yeah. So you're going to come into us for the Dub Web Fest for the panel Friday week, which I don't know, it depends on when we get this edited, it'll go out. But, so anybody that wants to pop in, we still have tickets going. We'll be having chats, and specifically it's about acting and how everybody got started. You're going to be with a few other people. Thanks a million for coming in for that. No problem, thanks a million, Eddie Jackson, for coming in and chatting to us on the podcast. Thank a million.
You. No problem.